Picture this. A single, flickering streetlight casting long shadows across a quiet suburban street, the kind of stillness that feels like the world is holding its breath. That's where I'm starting, not because it's dramatic, but because it's real. My name is Patricia. I'm 31, and I've spent the last 6 years building a life with a man who's become my anchor. Daniel, my husband, is 34, a guy with a quiet kind of charm that sneaks up on you. He's got this way of making you feel seen, even when he's lost in thought about his next big move at work. He's been with Apex Innovations for almost a decade now, pouring his heart into a job that he hopes will one day lift us out of the grind. His dream? To climb that corporate ladder, to be more than just another name on a payroll. That's why the late nights at the office, the missed dinners, the whispered apologies, they've all been worth it, or so we tell ourselves. Then there's Victor Langston, the man at the top of it all. He's the CEO of Apex Innovations, late 50s, with a presence that fills a room before he even speaks. Picture sharp suits tailored to perfection, a gaze that cuts through small talk, and an aura of untouchable confidence. Victor's a name everyone knows, not just for his business savvy, but for the way he plays the game. Ruthless, calculated, always 10 steps ahead. His wealth is the stuff of whispers, and his lifestyle? Extravagant doesn't even cover it. The man hosts parties at his sprawling mansion on the edge of the city, events that are more spectacle than celebration, where the elite mingle and deals are made in hushed tones over crystal glasses. Now, let me paint you a picture of my world with Daniel. We've got a modest home in a suburban neighborhood, nothing flashy, but it's ours. The kind of place where the lawn isn't always perfect, but the coffee's always hot in the morning. We've dreamed together, dreams of financial stability, of a day when we don't have to count every penny or second-guess a splurge on a nice dinner out. I've made sacrifices, small ones mostly, to support his career. I've been the supportive wife, showing up to company events with a polished smile, even when I'd rather be curled up at home with a glass of wine and a novel that sweeps me somewhere far away. But that's love, isn't it? Showing up, even when you don't feel like it. Recently, Daniel came home with news that lit up his face in a way I hadn't seen in months. Apex Innovations had a record-breaking year, and to celebrate, Victor was throwing a grand party at his mansion. Not just any party, an exclusive one, and we were on the guest list. I could hear the excitement in Daniel's voice as he told me, his hands gesturing wildly, like this was our ticket to something bigger. So here we are, stepping out of our little world and into something that feels like a dream, or maybe a mirage. The night of Victor Langston's party has arrived, and as Daniel and I pull up to his mansion, I can't help but feel my breath catch in my throat. This place is unreal, a sprawling estate perched on the edge of the city like it's daring the skyline to compete. The gates swing open, and we drive up a winding path lined with perfectly trimmed hedges, the kind of landscaping that screams money. I'm gripping Daniel's hand a little too tight as we step out of the car, my heels clicking on the cobblestone as we approach the massive double doors. They open before we even knock, and just like that, we're swallowed by opulence. Inside, it's like stepping into a palace from some old European fairy tale. Crystal chandeliers hang from the ceiling, casting golden light that dances across polished marble floors. The air smells faintly of jasmine and something expensive I can't quite place. Waitstaff glide through the crowd like ghosts, their black uniforms crisp, trays balanced with flutes of champagne, and tiny, intricate bites of food that look more like art than appetizers. The hum of conversation fills the space, dozens of well-dressed guests mingling, their laughter polished and their smiles practiced. I'm wearing a dress I spent weeks agonizing over, but standing here, I feel like an imposter. My fingers tighten around Daniel's arm as we move deeper into the room, my eyes darting from one unfamiliar face to another. He leans in close, his breath warm against my ear as he points out a few of his colleagues, whispering names like they're secrets. Marlon from accounting, Estelle from marketing. I nod, trying to match his enthusiasm, but I can't shake the feeling that I don't belong. We mingle, or at least we try to. It's awkward at first, my small talk stumbling over itself while Daniel does his best to carry the conversation. But soon enough, a couple of his coworkers pull him aside, their voices animated as they dive into shop talk. I'm left standing there, a flute of champagne in my hand, the bubbles tickling my nose as I take a sip. I let my gaze wander, taking in the room, the way the light glints off diamond necklaces, the subtle power plays in every handshake, the undercurrent of ambition that seems to pulse beneath the surface of every smile. It's mesmerizing and intimidating all at once. Then, the atmosphere shifts. A hush ripples through the crowd, and I turn to see Victor Langston himself making his entrance. The sea of guests parts for him as if on cue, and he strides in with a presence that demands attention. His tailored suit fits him like a second skin, every detail impeccable, from the silk tie to the polished cufflinks that catch the light. His smile is calculated, sharp around the edges, but there's a charisma there that's impossible to ignore. He steps onto a small stage at the center. The night has worn on, and the once vibrant energy of Victor Langston's mansion has faded into a haunting stillness. Most of the guests have trickled out, their laughter and clinking glasses now just echoes in my memory. The grand halls, once buzzing with life, feel cavernous and cold, like the mansion itself is watching, waiting. I'm standing near the foyer with Daniel, my hand still resting lightly on his arm, when Victor approaches us. He's holding a glass of whiskey, the amber liquid catching the dim light as he swirls it casually. There's a looseness to his posture now, a relaxed air that wasn't there earlier, but beneath it, there's an intensity in his eyes that makes my skin prickle. He starts chatting with Daniel about Apex innovations, tossing around terms like quarterly projections and market expansion as if they're casual banter. I try to follow along, but my mind keeps drifting, unsettled by the way Victor's gaze occasionally flicks to me, lingering just a moment too long. After a few minutes, he turns his attention fully to me, his smile tight, almost predatory, not quite reaching the icy depths of his eyes. "Patricia," he says, his voice smooth as silk. "Could I have a word with you in private? It's about something crucial for Daniel's future." My stomach twists, a knot of suspicion tightening as I glance at Daniel. He looks puzzled, his brow furrowing slightly, but there's trust in his expression, a quiet faith in Victor that makes my heart ache. I nod slowly, unable to find my voice at first, and Victor gestures toward the lounge downstairs, where a handful of lingering guests are nursing their final drinks. "Why don't you join them for a nightcap, Daniel?" he suggests, his tone leaving little room for argument. Daniel hesitates, his hand finding mine for a reassuring squeeze, before he gives me a small, uncertain smile and heads off, leaving me alone with the man who holds so much power over our lives. Victor doesn't waste a moment. He motions for me to follow him, leading me away from the foyer and down a dimly lit hallway. My heels click against the polished marble floor, each step echoing in the oppressive silence, a stark contrast to the lively chatter of earlier. The air feels heavier here, the shadows deeper, as if the mansion itself is complicit in whatever is about to unfold. We stop in a secluded corner, far from prying eyes or ears, and he turns to face me. His expression is no longer casual, it's deadly serious, his eyes boring into mine with an intensity that makes me want to shrink back. "I've been observing Daniel's work for years," he begins, his voice low and deliberate, each word carefully chosen. "He's got a rare talent, a potential for true greatness, but there's always a price for climbing to the top." I feel a chill run down my spine as he pauses, letting the weight of his words settle over me. Then, he steps closer, his voice dropping even lower, almost a whisper, as if the walls themselves might betray us. "I'm prepared to make him Deputy CEO Patricia, a position with a salary that would change your lives overnight, prestige beyond anything you've dared to dream. But I want something in return." My breath catches as he leans in, his intent unmistakable. "Just one night," he murmurs, the implication clear as day, a request that crosses every boundary I hold dear. My mind reels, struggling to process the audacity, the sheer violation of what he's suggesting. He's asking me to trade something sacred for a future we've fought so hard for. A future Daniel deserves. My heart is pounding so hard I'm sure he can hear it, a frantic drumbeat in my chest. My palms are slick with sweat, and my throat feels like it's closing up, making it hard to draw a full breath. I stand there, frozen, as the reality of his words crashes over me like a tidal wave. I think of Daniel, his endless late nights hunched over his laptop, the stress etched into the lines of his face, the dreams he's shared with me in the quiet hours before dawn. Deputy CEO. My mind is still spinning from Victor's proposition as I stand there, the weight of his words pressing down on me like a physical force. I can barely process the storm of emotions raging inside me, but before I can even form a coherent thought, he gives a curt nod, his face a mask of stone, betraying nothing of what he might be feeling. "Follow me," he says, his voice clipped and commanding, leaving no room for hesitation. My body moves on autopilot, my feet taking steps forward even as every instinct screams at me to turn and run. But where would I go? Back to Daniel, with no explanation, no solution, no way to secure the future we've dreamed of. I can't do that. Not yet. So I follow, my heart hammering against my ribcage, each beat a reminder of the line I'm teetering on. We leave the secluded corner behind, and Victor leads me through the sprawling mansion, our path taking us away from the faint hum of voices in the lounge, where Daniel is likely still chatting, oblivious to the storm brewing in my soul. The marble floors beneath my heels echo with every step, the sound sharp and hollow in the quiet corridors. We approach a grand winding staircase, its ornate banisters carved with intricate patterns that catch the dim light from sconces mounted on the walls. My hand brushes against the cool, polished wood as I ascend, using it to steady myself, because my legs feel like lead, heavy and unsteady with every step. It's as if my body knows what my mind is still grappling with, resisting the path I'm on even as I force myself to keep moving. Each stair feels like a mile, a slow march toward a decision I'm not sure I can make. My thoughts are a chaotic whirlwind, tearing through me with relentless force. Guilt gnaws at my insides, sharp and bitter, as I think of Daniel, his trust, his love, the life we've built together. How could I even consider betraying him like this, trading something so sacred for a promise of a better tomorrow? But then there's the fear, icy and gripping, whispering in my ear about what happens if I say no. What if Victor retracts his offer? Or worse, retaliates in ways I can't predict? What if I'm caught? If someone sees? If word somehow gets back to Daniel? The shame of that possibility burns hot in my chest. And yet, beneath it all, there's a desperate flicker of hope, a voice telling me that maybe, just maybe, this could be the key to everything we've ever wanted. A secure future, a life without the constant weight of financial strain, a chance for Daniel to finally have the recognition he's earned. I cling to that hope, even as it feels like it's slipping through my fingers. As we reach the top of the staircase, I can't help but glance back over my shoulder, my eyes searching the distance for the lounge. I can almost picture Daniel there, surrounded by the last few guests, his easy smile lighting up his face as he laughs at some shared joke, completely unaware of where I am or what I'm facing. The image stabs at my heart, and I have to force myself to turn away, to keep following Victor down a long hallway that stretches out before us. The walls are lined with expensive artwork, paintings in gilded frames that depict scenes of opulence and power, each one a silent witness to the choice I'm on the verge of making. The air grows heavier with every door we pass, the silence of the corridor pressing in on me, making it harder to breathe. My chest tightens, my breath shallow and quick, as if the mansion itself is closing in, trapping me in this moment. Finally, we reach the end of the hallway, and Victor stops before a set of double doors, their dark wood polished to a mirror-like sheen. He pushes them open with a quiet ease, revealing a large bedroom that feels like it belongs in a different world. I step inside, my eyes taking in every detail as if cataloging them might somehow ground me. The centerpiece is a king-sized bed, draped in silk sheets that shimmer faintly in the muted lighting, cast by a single lamp on a nightstand. The glow is soft and warm, casting long shadows across the room, making everything feel both intimate and suffocating. I stand there, frozen for a moment, as the reality of what I've walked into settles over me like a heavy fog. My mind is screaming at me to turn back, to run down that hallway and never look behind, but my feet stay rooted to the floor. Victor closes the door with a quiet click that feels deafening in the stillness, and suddenly, it's just the two of us in this space that feels too small, too charged with everything I'm trying not to think about. I can't look at him. My eyes dart everywhere else, desperate for something to anchor me. I notice the texture of the sheets on the bed, how they look almost liquid under the dim light, smooth and cool to the touch, I imagine. My gaze shifts to the nightstand, where a small clock sits, its hands ticking relentlessly, each second stretching into eternity. The faint sound of laughter drifts up from downstairs, a cruel reminder of the world I've left behind, of Daniel somewhere below, oblivious to the storm tearing through me. I feel detached, like I'm floating above myself, watching this unfold as if it's happening to someone else. My mind goes numb, a protective shield against the weight of what's about to happen, blocking out the raw edges of emotion that threaten to overwhelm me. Victor moves with a quiet efficiency, his presence a constant pressure I can't escape. He doesn't speak, and I'm grateful for the silence, because I don't think I could handle words right now. My heart is a frantic drum in my chest, but my body feels like it's on autopilot, moving through motions I don't fully comprehend. I focus on the mundane to keep myself from breaking, the way the silk of my dress brushes against my skin, the faint creak of the floorboards underfoot, the steady rhythm of that clock marking time. I wish I could stop. It's over faster than I expected, just as he'd promised in that cold, detached way of his. There's no lingering, no warmth, just a transaction completed in the shadows, a moment I can't fully grasp because I've locked myself away from feeling it. Instead, I'm left with a hollow ache, a void where something vital used to be. Relief washes over me that it's done, but it's tainted by a wave of disgust that clings to my skin like a film I can't wash off. My hands tremble as I adjust my dress, smoothing it down with mechanical precision, trying to erase any sign of what just transpired. I can't meet Victor's eyes, don't want to see whatever expression might be there. Satisfaction, indifference, or something worse. Out of the corner of my vision, I catch him straightening his tie, his movements crisp and businesslike, as if this was just another deal closed, another item checked off his list. The coldness of it cuts deeper than I expected, and I have to swallow hard to keep the bile from rising in my throat. We don't speak as we prepare to leave the room, the silence between us heavier than ever, laden with everything I'm trying not to acknowledge. Stepping out into the hallway feels like emerging from underwater, the air hitting me with a sharpness that makes me gasp. My legs are unsteady as I follow Victor back toward the staircase, each step a battle to keep myself together. My heart is pounding so hard I'm sure it's visible through my chest, a frantic rhythm of fear and shame. What if someone notices? What if they see the flush on my cheeks, the way my hands can't stop shaking? The guilt that I'm certain is etched into every line of my face. I feel exposed, like a spotlight is trained on me, illuminating every secret I'm desperate to hide. My skin burns with the heat of paranoia, and I keep my eyes fixed on the floor, unable to look at Victor, who walks ahead of me with an infuriating calm. How can he be so composed, so unaffected, when I feel like I'm unraveling with every breath? The descent down the staircase is agonizingly slow, each step echoing in the quiet, a reminder of the distance I've put between myself and the as I reach the bottom of the staircase. The faint murmur of voices from the lounge grows louder, pulling me back into a reality I'm not ready to face. My chest feels tight, like a vice is squeezing the air out of me, and I force myself to take slow, measured breaths. Victor walks ahead, his stride as confident as ever, leading me back toward the remaining guests as if nothing has changed. But everything has changed. I can still feel the weight of what happened upstairs, a shadow that clings to me, heavy and unshakable. My skin prickles with the fear that someone will see through me, that they'll notice the way my smile doesn't quite reach my eyes, or the slight tremble in my fingers as I smooth my dress one last time. We enter the lounge, and there he is. Daniel, standing near a small cluster of people, a glass in his hand, his face lighting up the moment he sees me. My heart aches at the sight of him, so unaware, so full of trust. I force my lips into a curve, hoping it looks genuine, as I make my way to his side. The room feels smaller now, the air thick with the scent of whiskey and fading perfume, the golden light from the chandeliers casting a warm glow that feels mocking in its cheerfulness. Victor moves to the center of the space, his presence commanding as always, and the chatter dies down almost instantly. All eyes are on him, and I feel a cold dread settle in my stomach, wondering what he's about to say. "Ladies and gentlemen," Victor begins, his voice smooth and authoritative, carrying over the hushed crowd with ease. "I've made a decision that I believe will shape the future of Apex Innovations for years to come. Effective immediately, I'm naming Daniel Warwick as my new deputy CEO." The words hit the room like a shockwave, and I hear sharp gasps of surprise ripple through the small gathering. Murmurs of congratulations follow, soft at first, then growing louder as the reality sinks in. I turn to Daniel, watching his face transform from confusion to utter disbelief. His mouth falls open slightly, his eyes wide, and then slowly, a grin spreads across his face, a wide, disbelieving smile that makes him look younger, almost boyish in his joy. He turns to me, and I see tears welling in his eyes, shimmering under the light. Before I can say a word, he pulls me into a tight hug, his arms wrapping around me with a warmth that feels both comforting and suffocating. "I can't believe this is happening," he whispers against my ear, his voice thick with emotion. "Our lives, they're about to change, Patricia. Everything we've dreamed of." I hug him back, my hands pressing against his back, but inside I'm crumbling. The weight of my secret presses down on me, a cold, heavy stone in my chest, and I have to force myself to keep smiling, to play the part of the proud, overjoyed wife. But every word he speaks, every ounce of his happiness, feels like a dagger twisting deeper into my guilt. Over Daniel's shoulder, my eyes find Victor. He's watching us, standing there with that same calculated composure, but there's something else in his expression now. A subtle, knowing smile that curves his lips just enough to be noticeable. Then, he gives me a discreet wink, a gesture so small yet so loaded with meaning that it sends a shiver racing down my spine. My breath catches, and in that moment, I realize this isn't just a transaction, not just a deal struck in the shadows. It's a power play, a silent chain that binds me to him in a way I can never escape. I'm trapped, caught in a web of his making, and the thought of what that might mean for the future makes my stomach churn with dread. The remaining guests break into applause, their cheers filling the room as Daniel pulls back from our embrace, wiping at his eyes with the back of his hand. He's overwhelmed, laughing softly through his tears, and I stand beside him, clapping along with everyone else, my hands moving mechanically while my mind races. I can't stop thinking about the cost of this moment. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.